Hey friends, welcome back to Jenny Food and My Kitchen. Well, Memorial Day has come and gone and it was a busy weekend. I had new clients that I had to cook for. I had several events, an open house, a campfire / barbecue that I hosted, as well as another family event. So we were busy and we ate all the burgers and hot dogs and cakes and salads and cookies and desserts. It was a food-filled Memorial Day weekend with all kinds of family, friends, and fun. And that's just the way I like it. But now, as we settle into the week, I've got to make dinner, and I don't want burgers and hot dogs. But I also don't feel like running to the store, and I want something relatively quick, but yet a little more luxurious than hamburgers and hot dogs. So I had a thought this morning. Everywhere I look, it seems to be that hot honey and feta is a thing. So tonight I'm going to jump on board that train and I'm going to make a chicken and sausage sheet pan dinner with veggies and potatoes and sweet potatoes. And then I'm going to top that off with some hot honey and some whipped feta. I'm thinking it's going to be good. Join me as I whip up this recipe just off the top of my head. Let's do this. All right, we're going to get started with our vegetables. So I've got about 1.5 pounds of Brussels sprouts. I've got 1 peeled sweet potato, 4 Yukon Gold potatoes that were left over at the bottom of the bag from another recipe, a head of cauliflower, and I've got some onion that was left over from our cookout this weekend, and it was sliced in the fridge, so we're going to go ahead and use that. So first up, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to chop our Brussels sprouts. Now, I'm going to need to put my glasses on for this so I can see what I'm doing. But what we're going to do is basically just chop them in half and get rid of any of those extra little leaves that fall off. Sometimes I keep those if I'm roasting them for something, but I don't want those extra leaves if I can help it today. We've got a lot of vegetables. Whoops. I am looking forward to this recipe. After all the hamburgers and hot dogs and steaks and eating out this weekend, I am looking forward to just a nice home-cooked meal that I can eat for a couple days. And it's got all the flavors that I love. And if my husband doesn't love it, well, there's extra pizza in the fridge from last night. Sometimes it's just what we have to do, isn't it? All right, next up, I'm going to go ahead and chop up our sweet potato. So I'll just give the ends a little cut off. And we're going to roast these all together. So I know it's going to take about 18 minutes-ish for the Brussels sprouts to be done. So I want to cut my sweet potatoes in the size that I know it'll take 18 minutes to cook. So, or 20 minutes. So I'm going to cut them not super thick, but a little bit on the thinner side. Anytime you're doing multiple vegetables, I find that roasting them on different sheet pans, even if you're going to serve them together, is perfectly fine if you need different temperatures or different times, or you start one and add to it. I am going to do this all together today. So I am just going to think about what size is needed for it all to be together. And so it's just a little, I would say just a little bit smaller than what I would normally if I was roasting them by themselves, but that's okay. We're gonna season those babies up and they'll be delicious. And our oven is ready. Preheated that to 425. I'm super excited about the feta and the hot honey. Like, you had me at hot honey. For sure. Anything that has hot honey on it. When we were in Nashville about a month ago, we had pizza. I had pizza for the first time. It was pepperoni with just a drizzle of hot honey. I'm telling you, can I have pizza without hot honey now? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. All right, let's go in with our Yukon Golds. And again, I'm going to cut those in a way that I know that they're going to roast up in the same amount of time. I want those to be nice and soft, so kind of smaller than I normally would, and that's okay. I just don't want to have any veggies left, you know, undone is what we're shooting for. So, just a little smaller than normal, that's all. I want this to all cook. Plus, it'll also give me, you know, we have a lot of Brussels sprouts and cauliflower. So this way, even with the potatoes a little smaller, it'll feel like they have a little bit of a larger presence in the dish. Because little girl loves her some potatoes. I have to convince the other two that live with me to eat vegetables, period. I love vegetables. I mean, I love potatoes too, but I love a good roasted vegetable. All right, there's our Yukon Golds. Now we'll go in with our cauliflower, which I just went ahead and cut the core off these. And cauliflower will, these roast down. I don't have to cut these super small. I don't want them huge, but I don't need them super small either, because they will cook. Whoops. Let's cut that guy in half. They will cook pretty, cauliflower cook pretty quickly. I'm just going to cut them in like, it doesn't matter to me how they fall apart. There we go. And those are just going to be little brown bits, so I'm not worried about that. That'll add to the dish. All right, our cauliflower is done. The last thing we have to do is do our onion. I'm just gonna kind of get rid of these little bits. All right, and lastly, I'm just gonna go ahead and give these, I think I'm just gonna chop them in quarters. I love onions. And when they kind of roast down, they're nice and sweet. So I'm just gonna cut these in, I guess give them in quarters-ish. Those will be perfect. You know what? I think I'm going to do this whole bowl. Otherwise, they'll just go bad in the fridge. So we might as well put them in, right? All right. Our vegetables are done. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put together our seasoning mix, mix all that, and then get those on the sheet pans. I've got 2 sheet pans behind me with a little bit of olive oil on them. I'll spread that out and then get these on the sheet pans. And then we'll do our meat right on top. So for that, let's see, let me bring all my spices into the picture. I've got salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, marjoram, dillweed, and smoked paprika. So the thought behind this is we're gonna do kind of like a regular, you know, how I would season something with salt, pepper, onion, and garlic. So we'll give that's gonna be quite a bit of stuff. So I'm gonna add like 2 teaspoons. If we have leftover seasoning, that's fine. I'll just use it for something else. And then 2 teaspoons of onion. That was 2 teaspoons of garlic, 2 teaspoons of onion. And then I'm just going to put 1 teaspoon of marjoram. Now, marjoram is a spice that's, I guess an herb, I should say, that is just, it kind of gives something like that savory, and it's kind of more of like a background, like it doesn't stand out, but it kind of supports. And with that whipped feta, just having that touch of herb. Now, I am going to put 2 teaspoons of the dill because we want the dill to be kind of forward in this. I might even add an extra. You know what? I'm going to add an extra dill. So we're going to do 3 teaspoons of dill, or 1 tablespoon. I can't get that back on. All right, and then to that, I'm going to add everything in this bottle. Looks like we've got 1.5 teaspoon of smoked paprika. I would have put 2 in there if I had more, but and really that smokiness against that whipped feta, like, ooh, it's going to be so good. I mean, I'm looking forward to dinner. So I'm going to mix all of that. All right. So now I am going to get some olive oil on our veggies. Just like that. Oops. My little thing fell off there. I had a hard time pulling the top off to put, maybe I broke it, to put more oil in it. Okay. And then we'll go in with our seasoning. I'm going to give kind of a couple good. I want to make sure that I have enough seasoning for the chicken, which it looks like I got plenty. And we'll give all of that a toss. I love that color that the sweet potatoes give, that nice orange, and then the Brussels sprouts add a pop of green. If I wasn't doing Brussels sprouts, I would do like fresh green beans would be good in a sheet pan meal, or broccoli. All right, that's going to need just a little bit more oil. You can tell by how that feels. That's a lot of vegetables, but we'll be eating this for a couple days. So not only am I making dinner, but it's kind of like I'm meal prepping as well. All right, that feels better. Now, where is my salt? There it is. I'm just going to put on a little bit of salt. I'm going to save some of that for the... I just like to kind of control my salt unless I have like a proper recipe. Today's dinner, this is kind of make up as I go along. Okay, that looks good. And then we'll do the same with pepper. My hands are all olive oily. save a little bit of that for the meat. Give that a little toss. And then I will get these onto the pans. All right, I've got my 2 pans here. And they've got a little bit of olive oil on them. I don't want those vegetables to stick. So I'm just gonna go in with half and half. That looks about right. And then I'm just gonna kind of scooch those all to the edges. Oh, that looks so good. That looks good like that. All right, I'm gonna wash my hands and then we will put the meat on there and we'll get everybody in the oven. So I have here Costco boneless, skinless chicken thighs, and I have 5 chicken sausages here that I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna cut them up, and I'm gonna put them right into the same bowl that we seasoned our vegetables with. So I will start with the sausages, and I'm just gonna cut them. I don't want those to burn or overcook, so I am going to cut those maybe a little bit bigger. I mean, it's all about how you cut things, really, and how they need to cook. So I'm going to give those just a little bit of a bigger because I don't want them to dry out. And that's fine. Still bite size. All right. There is our sausages. Now, for our chicken, I am going to kind of trim off, if I can, some of this extra skin. And then that all looks, well, maybe this right here. And then I'm just going to cut this into bite-sized pieces. I know that these will cook along with everything else. They will be done in the 18 to 20 minutes. And we're going to put them kind of on top. So I know that those will be fully cooked. And because we're using chicken thighs, they will still maintain kind of like, they'll be a little bit juicy still. Whereas chicken breast is really good, but I kind of like to usually do chicken breast separate because it can dry out if it gets, thighs are a little more forgiving, I think. And cutting it this way into pieces, it'll take up all that seasoning, which we want it to. And then against that whipped feta at the end, that's going to be, I think it's going to be delicious. I mean, we'll see. If it's bad, you'll never see this video. If it's meh, well, I'll let you know. And if it is, well, I'll let you know what we can do different. You know, I find that you really can save about, 80 to 90% of recipes that, a lot of recipes can be saved with salt, perhaps a little pepper, a little more oil, an acid like lemon or vinegar. I mean, a lot of recipes can be saved that way with just by adding a component that will brighten or kind of lift the flavor that's already there. Sometimes, I mean, the only time I find that you really can't save a recipe is if you over season it. Well, then you're kind of, you're kind of out. But most of the time, if it's under seasoned or even if it's kind of, that just doesn't, it tastes kind of dull, you can usually save those recipes. All right, there is our chicken. So I am going to add, and our sausage, I'm going to add just a little bit of olive oil. And we're going to go right in with our seasoning. And I'm using my non-chicken hand All right, that looks good. And there's just a little bit of seasoning left in there. Get all of that. You know what? I might need a little bit for this chicken. Maybe just a little bit more seasoning. All right. And then I am going to take this and I'm just going to kind of lay that over top of our vegetables. And the bonus is some of that liquid from the chicken will also give these vegetables some flavor. So I think it's going to be win-win. All right, that looks good for this pan. Put that back here. And then it's nice. Tomorrow my daughter comes. She helps me once a week. And so I will have dinner already prepped for tomorrow by the looks of it. And this is something she will eat. All right. We'll get these in the oven and then we will whip that feta and then taste. Friends, I meant to show you this on camera, but I discovered that my food processor quit working apparently this weekend because I used it this weekend, but I couldn't get it to work. I ended up having to use an immersion blender to whip up this feta with some yogurt, but it was not pretty. So, I mean, you know, it worked in a pinch, but it was not something that you would want to see because I kept having to scrape out that little blade because it's, you know, you want this to be kind of like a thicker, I don't know if you can see that, kind of like a thicker consistency. You don't want it to be like yogurty. You want it to be whipped feta. So anyways, that was 2 cups of feta and I just kept adding a little bit of yogurt at a time. I think in all that was about a half a cup of yogurt, nothing else. I didn't add any salt or anything like that. Oh, just a little bit of olive oil just to kind of keep things moving. So, but I think this is going to be delicious on our dinner. So we got about 5 more minutes and then we'll taste. All right, friends, our sheet pans are out of the oven. Now I went ahead and tasted just to kind of check for seasoning before I put it all together. And just like we were talking earlier, this needed just a little bit of a lift. And so I'm going to take a lemon and I'm just going to give it, I'm going to do half a lemon per sheet pan. Not a ton, but just a little brightness. If something, I mean, just moving forward, if something tastes, oops, seed. If something tastes kind of dull or doesn't have a lot of flavor, try salt first, a little bit extra salt. If it still kind of tastes dull, but you don't want to make it, you know, overly salty, then try a little bit of vinegar, just a little bit, or a lemon, or if you're doing Mexican or something like that, try a little bit of lime. It's always good to keep a little bit of limes and lemons on hand. That's your tip for the day. So I am going to go ahead and I'm going to dig in. Dinner time is close. I want a little more of that sausage and chicken. All right, let's get some of those sweet potatoes. All right, and to that, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add a nice dollop of our whipped feta to kind of dredge things through. Woo! And then, friends, we do not want to skimp on the hot honey. The hot honey is like, it's a game changer for everything apparently. So I'm going to just give that like a once and then back again. Look at that. Does that not look good? All right, I gotta get a fork. excited. I didn't know I was having this for dinner today. So I'm going to take a little bit of that feta and hot honey. I'm going to get a Brussels sprout, a sweet potato, and whoops, chasing some sausage here. All right, and we're going to go in. A lot to chew. First of all, those sweet potatoes are delicious. Especially when you get one with just a little bit of that hot honey. Yes. And then Brussels sprouts really take the sweet and they take the feta really well. I mean, this is for something that just, you know, was a last minute, what am I gonna do? I don't feel like eating burgers and dogs. This ain't bad. Make it for yourself. It's worth it. And you can change your spices. I mean, I wish that it had, if I had to critique it, I wish it had just a little bit more paprika, but that was all that I had on hand. So that would have made it just a little bit, just even a little bit more of a smoky flavor against that honey and feta. That would have been perfect, but it's pretty stinking good. So if you make this, if you try it, leave me a comment and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Bye for now, friends. I'm eating dinner. That's good.